Week 1 of the 2025 NFL season has potential to be a very, very long day for Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans as they come into Denver, Colorado and play the Broncos for the first game of the season. First of all, just on its face, coming to Denver for game 1 has been a historical advantage for the home team Broncos. The best winning percentage in NFL history in home openers. And I think this would be especially true in 2025 when teams are playing the least amount of preseason football than they've ever played, down to just 3 games, not playing the starters a lot in those 3 games. Cam Ward attempted just 19 total passes across 3 preseason games. People come from all around the country and even world to train at altitude here in Colorado. So now you're going to practice the least amount in NFL history and come into altitude for your first game when you're not in football shape, usually a bad recipe. But then you're adding the rookie quarterback component to it. This is why the Denver Broncos are the largest favorite of any matchup across the entire NFL, even more points given to their opponent than someone like the Eagles is giving the Dallas Cowboys. All right. Now, here's some history for you, recent history when it comes to quarterbacks starting in their first game. Okay. No rookie quarterback, all right, has won a week 1 road game since Sam Darnold and the New York Jets beat a bad Lions team back in 2018. So a long time ago, right? It's 2025. Also, rookie quarterbacks making their first career start on the road are 2-15 overall since 2020. 2-15 does not bode well, and those quarterbacks are actually 0-6 since 2020 when the starts are road starts in week 1. All right, so history obviously working against Cam Ward and the Titans. All right, that's just the history on its face, not the actual matchup that the Titans are facing and Cam Ward is facing in week 1 against this vaunted Denver Broncos defense. All right, Vance Joseph likes to send blitzes at just about as high as a rate that you're going to see in the NFL. All right, 63 sacks from a year ago. You think about the great teams that have come through Denver, the Super Bowl championship teams of the late 90s, the 2015 defense, maybe the greatest defense in team history. I'm saying that it probably is. But if you use the 2015 defense as a historical reference point and compare it to the regular season of 2024, I think it's actually kind of alarming just how historically good that 2024 defense was a year ago. Now, I'm not saying it's better than the 2015 defense. That 15 defense was dominant in the playoffs with the season on the line. And the Broncos, when they stepped up in competition, gave up something like 41 to the Ravens, losing 31-7 in the playoffs to Buffalo. So I'm not saying that. But if you pay homage to the 2015 defense by using it as a historical reference point and compare the 52 sacks that they accumulated in 2015 and understand that it's double digits behind the 2024 defense, 63 sacks. In fact, and this is one of the crazier stats of the 2024 season, you have 32 teams in the NFL, right? The largest gap between any 2 slottings was number 1 to number 2. The Denver Broncos to the Baltimore Ravens, 54 sacks. So 9 total sacks separated the first and second team in the NFL. I think that's incredible, all right? Well, someone says, well, Zach, they play an additional game in 2024 as opposed to 2015. Even if you break it down by sacks per game, you're talking about 3.2 sacks compared to 3.7 sacks. That's a half sack difference per game. Doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of a season, pretty telling there just how good that Broncos defense was in 2024 getting after the quarterback. Now you look at the defense and understand that year over year, you talk about continuity from a coaching standpoint and a personnel standpoint, the Denver Broncos are returning 14 of the 15 players in defensive snaps from a season ago, with the only omission of those 15 being Cody Barton. All right. So you have an incredible year-over-year continuity. And then they added to the defense. All right. Former All-Pro Dre Greenlaw. Now, it hasn't been healthy this summer, so we'll keep an eye on that. But they should be more fortified at the inside linebacker position with Greenlaw. Talanoa Hufanga, another a former All-Pro safety, all right, should be still in the prime of his career. And then what they do in the first round, they added another cornerback when they already had Defensive Player of the Year Pat Surtain, and opposite of him, a really good corner in Riley Moss going into year 3. They fortified, doubled down, really. Not even fortified, they doubled down on the cornerback position. And when your secondary is as sticky as the Broncos were and can be again, that just allows that time needed for players to get after the quarterback. 6 different players from a season ago recorded 5 sacks or more. And now you're introducing that defense to a player who's playing his first ever NFL game in Cam Ward, who only attempted 19 passes this preseason. And if you take a dive into his college career, you're talking about an average of 35 sacks taken over a 4-year sample size. All right, now he cleaned it up better at his final year at Miami, but this has been an issue for Cam Ward. He likes to thrive in chaos and play off script. He could be playing right into the Denver Broncos' defensive hands, if you will. So when you add all that up, all right, when you add all that up, the continuity, from a coaching standpoint, Vance Joseph, same DC, a personnel standpoint, 14 of 15 top players in defensive snaps, returning the strength of the defense in coverage and getting after the quarterback, and bake it all together with Cam Ward playing his very first NFL football game at altitude when there already is a historical disadvantage to the road team. You have an understanding why this is, in fact, the largest week 1 spread in the entire National Football League. And it comes at a good time, all right, because Sean Payton has really put an emphasis in this preseason about getting off to faster starts. As much more improved as the Broncos have been under Sean Payton, the one thing that they have not been able to do is start fast, all right? And what an opportunity. You take a look at the Broncos schedule and you look at the most winnable home game on the schedule. All right, nothing's easy. It's the NFL. But if you're going to identify the most winnable home game on the entire schedule, for me, it actually comes week 1, home against the Tennessee Titans. So we'll see if the Broncos can actually go out there and execute on this forecast that I'm sort of painting here. My guessing is that they will. My guessing is it's going to be a very long day for Cam Ward and a bit of a baptism by fire for the young signal caller, former number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Guys, thanks for being here and listening to me talk about Cam Ward and the Broncos defense and that dynamic week 1. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel here at ZachBy23. Leave a comment, all right? I would love to interact with you there, and come back because I'm going to be posting here very regularly for the 2025 NFL season.